Have you ever had that strange feeling when trying to explain to someone how your phone's GPS knows exactly where you are, or how Netflix's algorithm seems to know your tastes better than you do yourself? That moment when you pause, think for a second, and realize you really have no idea how these things work? I'm not just talking about not understanding the technical details, but a deeper, almost existential incomprehension about the nature of the reality we are building around ourselves. It's as if we're living inside a system that operates according to principles that our logical mind, trained over millennia to understand cause and effect in linear ways, simply cannot keep up with anymore. This isn't just a matter of education or having time to study. It's something more fundamental. We are witnessing the birth of a reality that transcends the limits of human logical understanding, and most of us haven't yet fully grasped the implications of this. Imagine a 15th century fisherman trying to understand how a satellite orbits Earth. It's not just a matter of technical knowledge, it's that his entire conceptual system for understanding the world doesn't possess the necessary tools to process this information. We are rapidly becoming those 15th century fishermen, but in relation to our own technological creation. For tens of thousands of years, the human mind evolved to understand reality through relatively simple logical patterns. If you planted seeds, they grew. If you put fire to wood, it burned. If you pushed a rock, it moved. Cause and effect were clear, direct, comprehensible. Our language, our mathematics, our philosophy, our entire framework of thought was built on this foundation. The premise that reality can be broken down into understandable parts, which can be analyzed logically and recombined to form a coherent understanding of the whole. The great advances of modern science seemed to confirm this approach. Newton showed that planets follow elegant mathematical laws. Darwin revealed the logical mechanisms of evolution. Even Einstein, in revolutionizing our understanding of space and time, did so through equations that, while complex, still followed logical principles that trained minds could comprehend. We had reason to believe that given sufficient time and effort, any aspect of reality could be understood by human reason. But something fundamental has changed. It wasn't a gradual change, it was a qualitative transformation in the nature of the very reality we are creating. When you ask Google how it processes billions of queries per second, the answer isn't just technically complex. It is conceptually incomprehensible to the human mind. Not because we are intellectually limited, but because the nature of these operations transcends the logical processing patterns that our cognition can follow. Consider for a moment what happens when you ask a simple question to a modern artificial intelligence. Your question is converted into numbers, processed through billions of artificial neural connections, each performing calculations that interact in ways that not even the creators of the system fully understand. The result emerges from a process that is simultaneously deterministic and fundamentally opaque to human understanding. It's as if we're creating oracles that function according to principles that exceed our capacity for comprehension. And this is just the beginning. Today's artificial intelligence is primitive compared to what's coming. We're heading toward a world where AI systems will design other AI systems, where algorithms will discover scientific principles that no human could ever conceive, where the very structure of reality will be shaped by intelligences that operate according to logics incomprehensible to us. We are not just losing control, we are losing the ability to understand what is being controlled. This transformation extends far beyond technology. Our economy already operates according to principles that defy traditional logical understanding. Financial markets respond to high-frequency algorithms that execute millions of transactions per second, creating patterns of economic behavior that no classical economic theory can adequately explain. The value of cryptocurrencies fluctuates according to dynamics that blend technology, mass psychology, and speculation in ways that make traditional cause and effect analyses practically useless. Even our social life is being reorganized according to incomprehensible principles. Social networks determine what we see, who we interact with, what information we receive, through algorithms that process more data about human behavior in an hour than all of academic psychology has accumulated in centuries. These systems don't just reflect our behavior, they shape it in ways that neither we nor their creators can fully predict or understand. The issue isn't that these systems are complex, the issue is that they operate according to a logic fundamentally different from the linear causal logic that our minds evolved to process. They function through what we might call emergent logic, patterns that arise from the interaction of millions or billions of variables in ways that cannot be reduced to simple causes and effects. Imagine trying to explain the behavior of an ant colony by analyzing one ant at a time. You could study each ant individually, perfectly understand how each one functions, but still be completely lost about how the colony as a whole makes collective decisions, finds food, builds complex structures. The intelligence of the colony emerges from the interaction between ants in a way that transcends the sum of their individual parts. Now imagine that we are creating artificial ant colonies with trillions of digital ants, and you'll begin to understand the magnitude of the challenge we face. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this transformation is that it's not happening against our will. We're actively participating in it, accelerating it, because the immediate benefits are undeniable. These incomprehensible systems do wonderful things for us. They diagnose diseases, optimize transportation routes, translate languages, create art, compose music, solve complex scientific problems. We are voluntarily handing over more and more aspects of our lives to systems we don't understand because they work better than our logical understanding could work. It's a paradoxical situation. Our logic tells us we should understand the systems we depend on, but these same systems work better precisely because they transcend the limits of our logical understanding. It's as if we're discovering that logic itself, our most precious tool for navigating reality, has fundamental limitations that we're only now beginning to perceive. I need to pause for a moment to ask, do you also feel this growing incomprehension of the world around us? This sensation that we're living in a reality that operates according to principles our minds can no longer follow? I know it can be a disconcerting, perhaps even frightening experience. Many of us were educated with the promise that knowledge and logic would give us control over our destiny And now we discover that we're living in a world that challenges these fundamental premises. But you're not alone in this experience. If this feeling of growing incomprehension resonates with you, share in the comments. I feel the world became incomprehensible when I realized that. Your experience can help others understand that we're not alone in this fundamental transformation of our relationship with reality. This transformation has profound implications for how we understand the very nature of knowledge and wisdom. For centuries, we equated wisdom with understanding. The more we understood about how something worked, the wiser we became in relation to it. But now we're discovering that there may exist a form of operational wisdom that doesn't depend on logical understanding, the ability to navigate effectively in systems we don't understand. Consider how today's children interact with technology. They don't need to understand how a smartphone works to use it with a fluency that often surpasses that of adults who try to understand each function logically. They develop an operational intuition that allows them to navigate complex interfaces, discover functionalities, adapt to new applications without ever needing to understand the underlying logical principles. This may be the first human generation that is naturally adapting to live in an incomprehensible reality. And perhaps this isn't necessarily a loss, perhaps it's an evolution. Just as our ancestors had to develop new forms of cognition when they transitioned from hunter-gatherer societies to agricultural societies and then to industrial societies, perhaps we're at the beginning of another fundamental cognitive transformation. But this doesn't mean we should simply passively accept this incomprehensibility. It means we need to develop new forms of relationship with reality that recognize both the possibilities and dangers of living in a world that transcends our logical understanding. We need to learn to distinguish between dangerous incomprehensibility and beneficial incomprehensibility, between opaque systems that serve our interests and opaque systems that may be manipulating us in ways we don't perceive. One of the biggest traps of this era is assuming that because something works, it automatically serves our best interests.